Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Rahina Khanam, student of Bachelor's in Architecture. In this video, I'll be discussing the Puerto Madero Waterfront Urban Regeneration Project. The purpose of this video is to study and analyze the project in terms of its historical background, the transformative measures, as well as the efficiency and effectiveness, that is the end result and the impact of this project on the city. Puerto Madero is the oldest sector and a revamped waterfront of the Port District, located at the mouth of River Plate in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Within the city, the Puerto Madero and its surroundings have become the nucleus of many dynamic activities, being a development pole which is closely linked to gated communities in the periphery. The transformation began in the north area of the city and later extended to south to include the renewal of Boca as well. Puerto Madero is a tourism nucleus and center of urban revolution in place of what once was a rapidly declining port in Buenos Aires downtown. Since its revitalization, it is a focus of activity, attracting residents and visitors alike to its park and cultural features, accommodating almost 5,000 new inhabitants and producing 45,000 service jobs. It encompasses an area of 180 hectares near the downtown Presidential Palace. Puerto Madero was a highliner in the urban brownfield renewal projects of this scale and intricacy in Latin America. It was considered to be a key player in the larger scale city center development strategy and included changes in land use regulations, building refurbishments, and social housing in heritage areas. The revitalized port has played a key role in the rebirth of the city center, inducing movements throughout Buenos Aires. The port houses many contemporary architectural monuments, including Santiago Calatrava's Women's Bridge and Cesar Pelli's YPF headquarters. In the next slide, we will see a video that shows Puerto Madero in the late 19th century. Okay, moving on, we'll be seeing the timeline of the project and the history of the area. The project. The story of this beautiful neighborhood of Buenos Aires begins from the end of 19th century. The shallow river waters, Rio de Plata, have always created docking issues for the ship. So all cargo passengers would be reloaded onto smaller barges and ferries to be transported to land. Hence, Edward Madero, along with the government, created this new port in order to resolve the docking issues. It took 10 years to construct and became operational in 1897. However, due to the increase in cargo ship sizes, it was soon rendered obsolete. The government then contracted a new engineer, Luis Hurego, to construct the Puerto Nuevo to the north, which is still operational today. It happened in 1911. When operations transferred to Puerto Nuevo at the beginning of the 20th century, Puerto Madero was abandoned and left to deteriorate. As you can see over here that the condition got very bad because it was not in use. By the late 1980s, several decades of desertion transformed it into a zone of neglect and wasteland. The shift of activities from Buenos Aires' traditional downtown had reduced the use of public transport system, which also led to the slow decline of historical buildings, many of which had lapsed into standards housing. However, after the government took notice after the 1980s, the new revitalization project was developed along with a transit line, as you can see over here, which would play a key role in the development of the project. In the coming slides, we will see the timeline of the development program. About the landowner and jurisdiction, along with the Federal General Administration of Ports owning the land, both the city and national government had jurisdiction over the planning. To resolve coordination difficulties, in 1989, a public limited corporation, CAPM, Corporación Antigua Puerto Madero, that is the Corporation of Old Puerto Madero, was formed to manage the project, dividing the shares equally between both. The corporation's role was to develop the site plan, define a self-funded financial model, undertake the site improvements associated with the project, commercialize the land, supervise the development process in accordance with established timeframes and guidelines of the master plan. The goal was economic recovery and job creation amidst a nationwide fiscal crisis, relying on self-generated revenue to cover the operating costs. In this part, we will see how the Port Madero project changed the way the public urban projects were treated with respect to economic trends. The development took place in 4 stages. During the first phase in 1989 to 1992, revenue was generated by selling the old docklands on the western end of the port. Initiation of the Puerto Madero National Ideas Competition in 1991 was performed by the city and Society of Architects, and the collaboration of the 3 winning teams, including architects John Busquets, John Alemany, A. Gary, and Muscato, created the draft urban project for Puerto Madero in 1992. The first public space to be transformed was the 3,000-meter long walkway in 1992. The second phase of the project included a core of 1.5 million square meters of floor area development in original master plan to revive the old downtown with a 20-year timeline. The plan consisted of renovation of the 16 former warehouses, adapted to commercial activities, cultural and recreational facilities, cafes, restaurants, amenities, professional studios, and medium-sized commercial activities like printing, packaging, storage companies, etc. A metropolitan central park, ecological reserve, and rehabilitated areas were introduced to address the lack of green spaces. In the third phase in 1996 to 2000, the public projects were almost built. However, project expenditures increased along with the land sales. By 2001, the land ownership moved to majority in large private farms. There was little public land left to sell, and the corporation had enough liquid assets to complete the public works required by the project itself. The fourth phase includes of 2 segments from 2001 to 2003 and from 2004 to today. The project took a dip due to the fiscal crisis, and land sales lessened after 2001. However, after the 2003 elections, the corporation was able to resolve legal actions on some sites, which it then proceeded to sell. Using the revenues to complete the public works on site. As the land in Puerto Madero became scarce, developers started looking to the surrounding downtown areas as alternative investment sites. The scale and complexity of the project attracted investors from the national and international markets. So, the inclusion of these investors also played a key role in the overall rehabilitation of the project. It set a new trend of aligning market trends with urban policy priorities. Over here we can see the street names. So in 1995, another important step in Argentina's history was performed in a new ordinance in which it was declared that all the streets and the green spaces would be named after the women in cultural and humanitarian action fields to pay homage to them. So we have this Pyrina de Seri and Juana Manso and Martha Salvi streets. This is the images from 1980s when the port was in complete neglect, and we can see how unmaintained and so ignored the project looks. This is the new plan, and in 1993 an ordinance established urban regulations for this area, which finally allowed the developers to build high rises in this area, which were initially not allowed. So this is the first high rise in this area. The master plan was introduced in October 1992. We'll be analyzing the master plan in the next slide. First, we take a look at the section of this area. So this is a rough sketch which was prepared by the architects in 1980s. So these show the port buildings and the transit line division as well as the waterfront. So if we look at it more clearly in this slide, in this section, so we have the water reserve, then we have these areas of the waterfront around the dock pier and warehouses. We have the main road, which will now include a main transit line, which is one of the main features in revival of this area. So the transit lines are now connected with the commercial sector in the port area. So we have the commercial buildings over here, which go to the high rises. This plan was developed initially by the architects. These are the 4 dikes and their arrangement. We can see that there is a great inclusion of public green spaces, and we have the buildings within these green spaces now. Over here we can see the zoning of different areas of the district. So over here in the orange we have the recovered heritage buildings that are actually the docks, and over here in purple we have those buildings which have been built to resemble the docks. So here we have those. In this red line, in this red route, we have the pedestrian tour route, so people can come over here and walk. From over here we have this light blue line that is going to here. So this is the circulation routes which have been used as a major gateway to perform revitalization in this area. These are the green spaces which are part of the ecological reserve, and in brown we have the new building typologies which include the medium to low rise buildings and residential quarters. And over here in magenta we have the tower buildings which have been clustered around the end of the avenues. Okay, so we can see that a north to south axis divides this whole plan, and on the east we have the 16 dock buildings, which were the original buildings which are now sold to the private sector for restaurants and cafes. And on this side we have the new dock buildings, which are actually not the dock buildings but they're reminiscent of these buildings. So these are the public spaces, and they are formed in rings along with these larger high rises on these corners of the boulevards. So they form like ring shaped squares for people to interact and for public happenings. And we have these green spaces, these parks, which are named after the women as well. and they are facing this larger ecological reserve, as we'll see. These are the clusters of the high rises which are centered in these boulevard corners. So this image shows the 4 dikes, and these are the 4 bridges, and this one is the Puente de la Mayor, as we can see here, which was Santiago Calatrava's Women's Bridge, which has become an important feature of connecting this public square to the other side. We have a clear ring shape arrangement in certain areas. These red buildings are the original docks, however these smaller grey ones are those which are built in reminiscence of these old dock buildings. And over here we can see the larger ecological reserve at the corner of the mouth of the river, at the corner mouth river. These are some before after images. So this is how it looked in 1990s, with no clear development strategies in this area, no transit lines. However, in this image, it is from this year. You can see it is from the last 20 years. We can see the transit lines which are connected via pullovers, and we have these high rises which are forming public spaces and squares in certain areas. These are the 16 original dock buildings, and these buildings are over here. We have the low buildings which are formed in reminiscence of these buildings. So this is the old dock building. This is an image, a sketch from the 1890s to show how the cargo would be unloaded over this area, or the passengers would be unloaded onto this area, and they would be using these carriages to reach the city, and these would be the warehouses. So now these warehouses have been transformed into cafes, and these spaces are the leave line, and we have these public spaces, pedestrian spaces for the people. So these are the dock buildings. Before and after, we can see a clear change in the place making aesthetics. These are also some of the before and after images. So over here we can see how the public spaces beside the reserve are formed. So we have the leave line over here. We have this great wide space which is used for people for running, for skating, for walking in general. These are beautiful waterfront spaces which would be lit up in night, and we have the seating areas with some green strip. So these are the completely public spaces. Moving on inwards towards here, we can see these are some spaces which are used by the restaurants and cafes to produce nighttime and daytime seating with beautiful views. This is the redeveloped neighborhood around the port. Another image of the redeveloped port. So at night time, the areas, the public areas would be lit up, and there would be functions regarding culture, and there will be art and cultural events in this area which would bring people to this area at night, which initially used to be abandoned. This is Santiago Calatrava's Women's Bridge, which along with the streets and the parks pays homage to the famous women in the history of Buenos Aires. This is a nighttime view of the beautiful riverfront. So the side elevation shows a clear harmony in the heights of the building. We have the low docks, and we have the medium rises which are residential units, and we have the high rises which are the commercial and residential units. The outcomes of this project can be measured at various levels, which include the increase in property tax collection and the availability of new public facilities using these taxes. Looking at the port's original objectives to revitalize Buenos Aires central business district, there was a catalysis in the investment of the surrounding area. It produced an economic stimulus and generated employment in the construction sector as well. So it did a clearly well job in generating revenue as well as revitalizing the public space and the central business district of the Buenos Aires downtown. It has become a new destination for both tourists and residents. It helped in increasing the housing supply for the middle and high income groups. However, in the suggestions, we would say that inclusion of lower income and lower middle income groups would be a beneficial project. Much of the profit of the project went to the private developers who are actually maintaining the area as well. Lessons which can be drawn are that the fast implementation. The speed gave project sponsors discretionary powers to execute the project without extensive political interference. Decision making was concentrated within a small number of stakeholders, mainly the board of directors of the corporation. The simple development instruments. Maintaining the proposals within the existing zone and only modifying what was strictly necessary helped facilitate project implementation and minimize confrontation with other affected interests. The project adopted adjacent land use zone parameters that allowed for higher densities for multiple uses. The skillful incorporation of decades of urban planning into one single long-lasting master plan shows that the Puerto Madero has a long-term vision for the neighborhood. It builds on the history of the area and builds the public spaces, supports the economic sector, and looks into the future towards further rebuilding and revitalization. The flexible zoning allowed for mixed-use developments like residential, retail, and zone offices and recreational uses. The lack of public financing gave independence to the private sector, which indicates that the private sector is now even more involved in maintaining and beautification of the place. The flexible approach to negotiating with investors, especially during economic downturns, shows how the economy can be revived by a corner in a formation of central business district of the city. Puerto Madero demands a significant change in treatment of existing cityscapes while maintaining the historic fabric and nostalgia of an area with respect to the needs of the current times. The project is an excellent example of public urban space revitalization. That's all. Thank you.